Hi, this is part 2 in my rehearsing script or content for my men's cuddling workshop, November 2024. This is picking up at the end of, or where part 1 ended. Uh, so gentlemen, next I'm going to go over some more ground rules and agreements, and while I do that, in a moment, you'll have the choice, the option to turn to the one or two men next to you and ask if they'd like to share in some platonic touch or holding, um, for you to share while you listen to me go over some more ground rules. Um, don't do it yet. You'll Any touch you want to share, you'll still want to be able to pay attention to the important words I'm saying. So some examples might be holding hands or touching knees or hands on knees. If we're in person, I demonstrate. Might want to have your legs crossing over each other or shoulders touching. And this is all optional. You get to say no thank you, or negotiate, and make sure to ask and get consent. Um, so in a moment, I'll give you a minute or two to ask and get in position if you want to with that touch. And then I don't have it here, but I have this singing bowl, and I'll give one dong, which means like wrap up what you're saying. I want to come to silence soon. And a little bit later, like two dongs today will mean please come into silence now. So to repeat, in a moment, you can ask the man or two next to you if you want, if they want to, if you'd like to share some platonic touch or holding together. In a way, it can still pay attention to the ground rules. Ask, get consent, and I'll give you the dongs when it's time to complete. Any questions at all? Okay, great. Please do that. Begin. I'll give them a minute to do that. And then dong, dong. Um, so I'm going to continue with some agreements we'll make, and setting the container as you can share touch. So emphasizing more the value of saying no today. To me, it's one of the most powerful and one of the most valuable things that you can take from this workshop is really empowering yourself, that you can say no thank you, you can negotiate, you can say maybe later. And one story of this is about 10, 11 years ago, I had signed up for a touch workshop, a workshop about touch. I was going to participate in it, paid some money, and between when I signed up for it and when I went to the workshop, I had an experience with a man which was, for me, physically and sexually traumatic. So my boundaries were violated, and part of what contributed to me having that experience, I'm not blaming myself, but part of truly what contributed to it was I learned I had a very low comfortability and a very low skill at saying no, at saying I'm uncomfortable, or saying like no thank you, I'm not, I don't want that, or I said I don't want this, that's not, I'm not okay with that. So at that touch workshop, I decided to say no to everyone. I didn't share like 1 second of touch in like a 3-hour workshop. And it was so incredibly healing and empowering for me, like to really get in my bones and my body that I'm at choice. I don't have to people please. I care about how others, I guess, feel from what I say, but at the same time, like me taking care of my own body, my own boundaries is one of the highest priorities for me. So that's an example. And another example is actually with my wonderful, lovable friend Kevin when he was facilitating his cuddle groups and I was participating for the first time. Uh, I they had good safe agreements like this, and I chose not to share touch with Kevin for it was probably the first about 2 or 3 months of attending that group. So maybe it was 6 times attending it for a few hours each, because Kevin just some visually and maybe a little bit of mannerisms reminded me of the man who had violated my boundaries and I had trauma from. And because Kevin was so respectful of my no, and I felt safe enough that I could say no and keep that space for myself. After time, I did feel really comfortable sharing touch with Kevin in the group, and then we've developed this just truly amazing, very physically affectionate friendship, and that may not have happened if I wasn't able to say no, or at least not now, and if Kevin wasn't able to accept the no and not like get all offended or make it about him or he's a bad person. So yeah, I offer those as some examples of what's available to you today. Another agreement: anything that's shared here, and anyone, whoever is attending here, this is confidential. I'm going to say it again. We agree to keep confidential who attended and what they said here, what they did here. This is not just like lip service. This is incredibly critical for some of the men attending. If confidentiality was broken, it could affect their careers. It could affect maybe their social lives. Some of us, unfortunately, do not live or work in places that are as accepting, as open-minded as what we would like. So please, it's a please, but it's also a requirement to adhere to this if you want to participate in the workshop today. Also, if I see Bob or Joe out in the streets or outside after the workshop, please keep it in mind. If Bob's with a bunch of people, I'm not going to be like, "Oh, hey, Bob, it's me. Remember from the men's cuddling workshop?" I'm I'm going to be thoughtful and not give away his confidentiality. Similarly, if you're talking with a partner today, like what you two share together is confidential between you two. So I wouldn't say like, "Oh, hey, let's say I was talking with Rob in a partner exercise, and then I want to go to Joe later on today in the workshop and be like, Joe, you wouldn't believe the stuff that Rob is going through, that's between Rob and I. The exception to this is if people give you clear permission to share about that they were here or things about that they shared, that's great. Just make sure you have clear permission before you do that. And on that note, you're welcome to share about me, Kyle, about my work or anything that I share here. I'll let you know if there's something otherwise, but I anticipate anything I share here can share with others. You can share your experience, benefits you got. You can share about the exercises. It's not a secret. And I also invite you to, if you want, to invite men to come or contact me. I'm happy to have a call with them. Again, with confidentiality, we'll have phones completely turned off and away outside the room. I'll be using my phone as a timer, and Kevin may use his phone at times just to make the workshop run. But I'm not recording anything. I have tape on my camera. So yeah, camera's covered. Unless, does anyone have a special need for their phone today? Like, I'm open to making exceptions. If someone is on call or they have a sick child and you want to be available, that's totally okay. I just want to know if we're making any exceptions. So, any exceptions? Okay, great. Thank you, men. Appreciate you.